And we will invoke God's presence with us this morning by way of our prayer that is a responsive reading prayer found in your bulletin. It is the beginning of a new school year, and God is a God of new beginnings and new creations. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth, new life, blessed it, and called it good.
We give thanks for a new year and new beginnings. We give thanks to all of us.
In the beginning, the heavens shone forth a star when our Savior was born. In the beginning of his ministry, the heavens opened up and called him God's beloved.
We give thanks that you know our highways and what it means to be human. We give thanks that you call us your beloved children.
O God of new beginnings, new life, and new journeys, you sent Abraham and Sarah into a new land. You led Moses, Aaron, and Miriam out of Egypt and into liberation. You led your Son, our Savior, to earth, to the cross, and into resurrection. Walk with us, we pray, as we enter into a new year, a new path, new opportunities. Amen. May be seated.
It is my great pleasure to welcome all of you to the start of a new academic year, our 151st. This is always an exciting time. Campus is alive, vibrant, and full of what makes a university campus a university campus. This year we are so very pleased to welcome our returning students, and we embrace students who are new to Alderson Broaddus University as they join our university community. Our opening convocation is an official welcoming ceremony where we gather as individuals but depart united. We celebrate our diversity as we acknowledge and welcome those from across the country and from around the world. We rejoice in having new students, faculty, and staff on our campus. If this is your first year on the campus, either as student, faculty, or staff, I ask you to stand and be welcomed by those of us who call AD home. If you are a returning student, faculty, or staff, I also ask that you stand and be recognized for your continuing commitment to Alderson Broaddus as a place of quality education, service, and lifelong growth. And now, as we begin our ceremony, I ask everyone to stand and join in singing God Bless America. Thank you.
for the 2021-2022 academic year. Our opening convocation demonstrates our appreciation and respect for diversity on our campus. Students from across America and around the world come together to fulfill the mission of Alderson Broaddus by achieving a high-quality education. Our flag ceremony represents all of the wonderful states, countries, and nations that are here within our wonderful institution. This year, there are students hailing from 34 states, 26 countries, and 2 territories. As each flag is brought into the chapel, I invite you to celebrate our diversity and put your hands together as we begin the year with the Parade of Flags.
Please welcome the students from Alabama.
My name is Jaya and I represent the students from Arizona.
I represent the state of California.
I'm Kevin and I represent the students from Colorado.
Please welcome the students from Connecticut.
Please welcome the students from Delaware. I represent the students from Florida. I represent the students from Georgia.
Hello, I'm Kampo. I'm Gavin and I'm representing the state of Hawaii.
I represent the students from Illinois. I represent the students from Indiana.
Hello everybody, I represent the students from Iowa.
Please welcome State of Kentucky.
I'm here to represent the students of Maine.
I represent the students of Michigan. I'm representing the students of Missouri.
I'm Preston. I'm representing all the students from Montana. Let's go, baby.
Students in from Nebraska.
Joe, I'm representing from the students from Nevada.
I'm representing the students from New Jersey. I represent the students from New York. I'm representing students of North Carolina.
I'm representing the students from Ohio.
I'm Brian, and I'm representing everyone from Oregon.
I'm Emma, and I represent the students from Pennsylvania.
I'm Zach. I'm representing the students from South Carolina.
I'm Brady. I'm representing the students of Tennessee.
I'm representing the students from Texas.
I'm Nico, and I'm representing the students from Utah. Students from Virginia.
My name is G. I'm representing the students from Washington.
Proud to be representing the students of West Bygone, Virginia.
I'm representing the students of Wisconsin.
I'm Johnson, representing the students from Washington, D.C.
My name is Christian. I represent the students from Puerto Rico.
I'm Sarah, and I represent the students from Afghanistan.
My name is Joaquin, and I represent the students from Argentina.
I'm very happy to represent the students from Austria. Like you,
Best camp in the world, Brazil.
I'm Shauna, and I'm representing the students from Burkina Faso.
I'm Eman, and I represent the students from Canada.
My name is Tony. Welcome, students from Colombia.
My name is Caden, representing the students from El Salvador.
My name is Rebecca, and I'm representing the students from Ethiopia.
name is Nathan, and I represent students from France.
My name is Julian, and I represent Jody.
My name is Josh, and I represent the students of video. My name is Mark, and I represent the students of Guatemala. I'm David, I represent Honduras.
Miss Rhoda Leeson. Miss Carrie Sisk. and Dr. Jonathan Wolf. Thank you. You may be seated. This year's outstanding faculty is known for going above and beyond for students. Relationships are easily developed with students by an open door and a friendly greeting. And these relationships, once formed, continue well beyond graduation, as this year's recipient remains available to students for advice and counsel during graduate school and the years beyond. He inspires students to examine issues and questions on a scientific level and to look for new solutions to the problems our society faces. He challenges and pushes students to be the best they can be each and every day. He is a fountain of immense knowledge in his field and loves to share that knowledge with others. Students learn firsthand as they assist in his groundbreaking ovarian cancer research. So please join me in congratulating the first ever two-time recipient of the Alderson Broaddus University Outstanding Professor Award, Dr. Charlie Chen.
Thank you. I'm really honored and also excited and happy for this award. And I would like to thank our students, faculty members, and staff for their loving and also dedication. You have made this place wonderful and of loving and caring family of the mountaintop. Thank you. Thank you.
Congratulations again, Dr. Chen. Next, I would like to read a piece of scripture coming from Proverbs chapter 24, verse 16. For the righteous fall 7 times, they rise again. But the wicked stumble when calamity strikes. Thank you.
Well, good morning and welcome to our academic convocation in our 151st year, but it's our 150th convocation. So I'd ask you to do the math a little bit. I'm just delighted that you're all here. And as I've said throughout my speeches this fall, this place is pretty lonely these summer months without you, without all of us, an academic community. And we gather appropriately to start out this academic year together celebrating teaching and learning. And as with all my speeches, I mentioned the mission of Alderson Broaddus is to provide the highest quality education. And to my colleagues on the faculty, particularly, that's your charge, to provide that. But it's half of the equation. The other half of the equation is the learning and the engagement, the sharing of ideas, frankly, the sharing of differences, constructive arguments, and seeking the truth. Striving, and that's that operative word in our mission statement, to prepare students to succeed in what all of you want to do, and then to emanate from this institution to fulfill your roles in a diverse society as well-rounded and responsible citizens. And God knows we need that in the world we live in. I'm honored today to present Dr. Beth Rushing who is the head of the Appalachian College Association. And I've known Beth now for a few years, and now that I'm a member of the executive committee of ACA, I've come to appreciate her even more. She's a humanitarian, a leader in academic societies and circles. She's a mother and a grandmother, and most important, in some respects, a teacher, in the best sense of the word. So for the purpose of presenting this academic convocation address, I'm honored to welcome Beth Rushing to Alderson Broaddus University for this opportunity. Thank you.
Okay, I gotta make sure I have everything on and my mask off. Thank you, Dr. Berry, for that kind introduction and for inviting me here today. This is my first visit to Alderson Broaddus. I've been president of the Appalachian College Association for 4 years, and it took me 4 years to get to, should we say the best place in the Appalachian College Association? I want to say it's beautiful here, and I really loved, especially the flag ceremony this morning. That was so much fun. I know some of you have a quiz on what I'm about to say, so I used to teach big classes, so I'm going to try to articulate and enunciate, but I appreciate you being here. In 1970, Apollo 13 launched from the Kennedy Space Center. It was the third American trip to the moon. 2 days into the flight, there was an explosion on board that changed the mission of that flight. Instead of attending to their original plan, which was to get to the moon and for some of the astronauts to walk on the moon, now the astronauts on board and their support teams on ground in Houston were suddenly focused on returning to Earth alive. This is, in fact, the origin of the phrase, "Houston, we have a problem." And spoiler alert, the astronauts made it back alive. In the wonderful film version of this historical event, there's a fascinating scene where the scientists and engineers and flight crew on ground in Houston are in a room trying to figure out how they're going to get the astronauts back before the oxygen ran out. It seemed like an impossible task to return the ship and its crew back to Earth safely. They reviewed all the critical tasks, and you can see in the film, if you've never seen it, I highly recommend it, you can see a great skepticism on the face of the people in the room. They were worried. They weren't sure but it wasn't, because the folks at NASA didn't let it. That one failure could have turned into multiple subsequent failures and a terrible loss of life, but it didn't. So to better understand the situation, of course, we need to bring into our consideration the writings of the Roman Emperor Marcus Aurelius, who wrote his Meditations about 1,800 years before Apollo 13 disaster, but it has information that is absolutely relevant for the folks at NASA who were working that problem. And this is just the one little quote I want to read to you from Meditations. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Be like a rocky promontory against which the restless surf continually pounds. It stands fast while the churning sea is lulled to sleep at its feet. I hear you say, how unlucky that this should happen to me. Not at all. Say instead, how lucky I am, not broken by what has happened, and am not afraid of what is about to happen. The same blow might have struck anyone, but not many would have absorbed it without capitulation or complaint." Now, what was important to Marcus Aurelius and to other Stoic philosophers like him was the art of controlling your perceptions, of training yourself to focus on what you have control over, and to see virtue and opportunity where other people might see an obstacle or a disaster. Now, in the Apollo 13 movie, the Gene Kranz character at one point is talking about the spaceship, and the people who built the spaceship at Northrop Grumman said that lunar module that they were in was not built to do what they were planning to do with it. And Gene Kranz said, "I don't care what it was designed to do, I care what it can do." That's the very definition of focusing on what you can control. Now, Marcus in the years 161 to 180. His meditations are his notes, his journal on how to live life. And he was greatly influenced by other Stoic philosophers that came before him, and his meditations have been important to other Stoics afterwards, as well as to other leaders such as Theodore Roosevelt and Bill Clinton. And if you're interested in learning more about Stoicism, I can recommend 3 things. The website, dailystoic.com, that gives you little snippets of Stoicism. Of course, the Stoicism subreddit. There's a lot of notes on Reddit about everything, and including Stoic philosophy. And a good philosophy course as a starting point. Now, we're beginning a new academic year here. And why should we think about failure at the beginning of something? Is it even advisable to think about failure in the context of a new academic year? I'm usually an optimist, and leading with failure is not usually my forte. But failure is an everyday feature of our lives, even, and for some of us especially, our academic lives. And learning to deal with failure, our own or others' failure, is important for our ability to live a good life, to be happy, to have healthy relationships with ourselves and with others. Preparing to speak to you today, I reflected on some of my own academic failures. So I'm going to share one with you that's not nearly as exciting as Apollo 13. It didn't, but it was important to me, and I, all these years later, have never forgotten it. So I went to Carson G College as an undergraduate, and I was a sociology major. One of the things that sociology majors have to take that was my favorite thing to teach when I was a sociology professor is research methods. And anybody else love research methods? Yeah, I know. It's not usually, you would have loved it with me. But one of the things I loved about this class was we got to design our own studies. We got to make up our own research project and carry it out in the course of a semester. And I'm normally shy and not very outgoing, and especially that was true when I was in college. But I got brave enough to go out and connect with a local manufacturing plant and to talk to them about administering a survey to the people who worked there. I was really interested in job satisfaction and what kinds of things predicted job satisfaction. So if you can follow me here, job type was the independent variable. I was interested in knowing whether people who worked in the front office were more satisfied or less satisfied than the people who worked on the production line at this manufacturing plant. So I developed a survey, took it out to the plant, they administered it. A couple weeks later, I went out and collected them, went back to my room, and started doing the analysis, only to discover I had not asked a question about what type of job the person had. That was important. You can imagine, like, did your heart just kind of stop for a second? It did for me too, all these years later. Oh my gosh. I freaked out a little bit, and then I had to recover, right? Because, of course, it was the night before it was due, right? So I panicked, and then I had to regroup. Now, at the time, I had studied ancient philosophy, but I didn't necessarily put that situation in the context of the Stoics. And Apollo 13 had already happened, but I wasn't very familiar with it at that point in my life. So after I freaked out, I figured out what to do next. And really what the Stoics teach us is that in situations like this, what matters most is not that you failed, not that you forgot to mention your independent variable, but it's what you do next. It's how you recover. I need you to know that I earned an A in that class. Not because my professor felt sorry for me, but because, first of all, I had to own up to it in my report. I figured out that I had measured gender, and mostly that mapped to a little bit to job type, but then I just decided I'm going to do the analysis and look at gender differences in job satisfaction. Later on in life, I did study job type and job satisfaction. But I owned up to my mistake, and I wrote about it. I changed my topic, and I wrote about it. And in my many subsequent years of conducting research, I have never forgotten to measure the independent variable or the dependent variable. I loved teaching methods, and I told that story every year because it's important. more about is how do we turn failure around? How do we fail successfully? How do we fail successfully? And that's an oxymoron, right? Like plastic silverware, jungle shrimp. Failing successfully doesn't sound like those two words go on, but let's keep going. Successful failure requires learning from what doesn't work. None of us would be here today if we had let our past failures define us. Successful failing is the key. You failed successfully. You might not have defined it that way, but we've all failed successfully. Failure provides an opportunity, a chance to reevaluate, to learn, to do better, and to start over. Now, redefining failure doesn't necessarily mean you're going to be successful the next time. You might try again, only to fail again. The Apollo 13 astronauts might not have made it back to Earth. The folks who tried to bring them to Earth, to learn from what had happened and to bring them back to Earth, still would have learned something, even if that had failed. Sometimes failure is the end of something. When you fail at Top Chef, you pack your knives and go, right? So maybe you can go to Last Chance Kitchen, but there's not a Last Chance Kitchen on this. Sometimes people don't define their failure as an opportunity to learn or an opportunity to start over. We sometimes see our failures, and rightfully so, as a sign to give up, to figure we're not going to achieve that thing. And sometimes that's the right decision. But it still doesn't mean you haven't learned from something, from that failure. Entrepreneurs probably sometimes use the phrase, fail fast, fail often. Have you heard that before? It's not just a notion that comes from Silicon Valley. Thomas Edison is quoted as saying, "I have not failed. I have just found 10,000 ways that don't work." So the key, of course, is to fail forward, to fail successfully. Not to be afraid to fail, because especially if you're trying something new, you're going to fail. Instead, to be a successful failure, you need to learn from that failure, to reflect, to review the tapes, to train yourself, like the Stoics did, to look at your failure objectively, to consider why it happened, and then to take steps for that not to happen again. Now, obviously, we prefer not to fail at the things we attempt. But for most of us, failure in one domain or another is just a fact of life. And as we know now from the Stoic philosophers, and the folks at NASA, and Thomas Edison, it's what happens next after a failure that matters. And I want to leave you with some lyrics, and I'm not going to sing them, but I hope that when you hear me say them, they might resonate for you. It's from the immortal words of Chumbawamba in their song, Tough Thumpin'. I get knocked down, but I get up again. And you're never going to let me down. Get me down. See, I messed it up. You want to say it with me? I get